Good evening and welcome to Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Luv Bay family, we are rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on tonight is healing during the holidays. We have with us our co-host Jennifer Peterkin, and our guest for the evening is Bob Wood, Title IX Coordinator of Gwinnett Mercy University. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guest or co-host, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. If you have any resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. And with that, Jennifer, if you would greet our listeners for the evening.
Absolutely. Good evening, Luv Bay family. So happy to be here again this evening. Thank you, Tia. My name is Jennifer Peterkin. I am a domestic violence survivor and advocate. And I've been privileged enough to work with Tia on Suffering in Silence since its inception. And I look forward to the next year. This is the first year of
Yes.
full year Suffering in Silence. So I look forward to the next year. Currently, I am working on a project that I'm getting ready to launch called The Human Experience. It is a podcast. And so that will be launching in January of 2023. So keep your eye out for that. You can follow me on Instagram at GetTheHX, or my website is getthehx.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bob, if you would introduce yourself.
Certainly. Thank you for having me here, and good evening to everybody. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. My name is Bob Wood, and I am the Title IX Coordinator for Gwinnett Mercy University. I've been a Title IX Coordinator for about 13 years now. A lot of people say, what does Title IX have to do with domestic violence? Because normally they associate it with sexual harassment and sexual assault on campus scenarios. However, the Title IX statute, the Violence Against Women Act, or VAWA, is part of this, and it's contained within our policies, specifically domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking. And in the current situation that I'm in, the institution, Gwinnett, we're a smaller university. We have a lot of commuter students, and we have a lot of non-traditionally aged students. So these things have come up in my work at Gwinnett, and there we are.
Thank you. So listeners, I want to share some resources, as we always do. But as Jen mentioned, we are coming up on our first year of the program. And so actually on next Friday, our guest is going to be TYB, our producer. So we are going to review the year.
That's awesome.
We're going to talk about the year. And with that, our co-host next Friday will actually be Bob. And I hope that I am not speaking too soon, but Bob will be joining us in the year coming as a co-host, as a permanent co-host. So I'm thankful to him accepting that offer to come and be with us, talk with us, and share more of his knowledge. So I am also looking forward to not just tonight, but next Friday when we review the year. So again, I want to start with sharing some resources. I want to review again the information that we have for Pakistan. The first organization is War Against Rape. Their website is war.org.pk. And then we have Bedari, Bedari. Their website is bedari.org.pk. The United Nations Development Program, their website is www.undp.org. And then we have Acid Survivors Foundation. Their website is acidsurvivors.org. And again, our topic on tonight is healing during the holidays. Before I actually just go to Bob for his thoughts and comments on this, I want to share an article that we did share previously on the program. This was written by Norman Miller This is from the Metro West Daily News in Massachusetts. And this was written December 13th, 2021. The title is Domestic Violence Incidents Increase During the Holidays. And here's how you can help a victim. The holiday season can be stressful, spending a lot of time with people you may not see all of the time, more traffic on the roads, and money issues. The added stress at this time of year can lead to an increase in domestic violence perpetrated by abusers who turn their stress into anger, and often they take it out on their families, area domestic violence experts said. It's definitely a time when things begin to pick up, said Patricia Hull, executive director of the Framingham-based Voices Against Violence. Things that can be normal stresses for us can set off a violent incident. In houses where there's violence, it doesn't take much to get set off. If you are visiting a loved one and suspect they may be a victim of domestic violence, there are signs to look for, according to Paige Beek, Director of Domestic Violence Services for the YWCA of Worcester. There are red flags to look for, she said. Isolation is a big one. A partner may not allow someone to see family and friends. They're controlling. They try to withhold money or have control of all the funds. They take part in humiliating behavior in front of family and friends. Another big one is criticizing and blaming. When a loved one is being abused, often a person wants to jump right in and solve the problem. Beek said that can often lead to more violence against the victim, or even the victim feeling attacked by the person trying to help them. You have to be careful in those situations because it can potentially cause the person more danger, she said. Just be there for them. It can be as simple as calling and saying, I haven't heard from you in a while, just checking in. Oftentimes you may think you're helping, saying, get out of the situation, and that can be deadly, Beek added. Just check in and ask how that person is doing. It may take a few times before feeling more comfortable and open. The most important thing is to believe the person being abused. Victims of gender-based violence are often not believed, Beek said. Something like, I'm here for you, I believe you. Let them know you are there for support. And some resources for victims and families of domestic violence are Voices Against Violence. Their number is 508-626-8686. There's also Reach Beyond Domestic Violence. Their number is 800-899-4000. And SafeLink. This is Massachusetts statewide hotline. Their number is 877-785-2020. And again, this information is from an article written by Norman Miller in the Metro West Daily News. So listeners, on tonight, what we really just want to emphasize, to care for yourself during the holiday season. Suicide attempts increase during this time of year as people feel isolated and lonely without family and friends. So we really want to encourage you to reach out, to open up, to speak to family and friends, call a hotline, to do whatever it is that you feel is necessary to get you through this holiday season. And so with that, Bob, we want to just, go right into our topic, healing during the holidays. And so I would just ask if you would, start by sharing your thoughts, your experience. And I always think of, your background as being a police officer. I could just imagine how things just increase during the holidays. I mean, I think of a normal, not normal. I just think of work, how work tends to increase for some businesses during the holidays. It picks up. And it, unfortunately, it really does do that when you're dealing with domestic violence. It picks up, the stress picks up, the incidents pick up. So I would ask if you would just speak to us from your experience.
Sure, absolutely. everything that we have just touched on moving into this is absolutely 100% true. The heightened stress, and there are various factors that heighten the stress. Mm-hmm. They can be anything from, well, I'll start with the economic. As we know, many families are struggling simply to put food on the table. And then when we get into the holidays, that becomes an extra added stressor. They're worried about maybe gifts for children themselves yes. around the holiday time. Family coming in, how am I going to provide, the setting for the family coming in and things of that nature. And all too frequently, that stress or the immediate relief for stress that some people will reach for is alcohol or drug consumption, and that just adds fuel to that fire of the stress. We talked about this, and sometimes people talk about this in a humorous way. We get large families together, and Uncle Joe gets on everybody's nerves.
Yes.
However, we all do know that large family gatherings can be very, very stressful. And again, as I said, when the alcohol, I'm thinking of my own family. I can remember, God loved my mother to death, but the first thing she would do on Christmas morning is open her bottle of Drambuie and have a drink. That's what she did. And her last husband would followed suit. And myself as a child, the one thing, then my stress relief, I'm out. I would leave the house.
Right.
And that's difficult for many people, obviously, especially, a spouse, parent in a domestic violence situation. I would say one thing that, a person can do is look for that red flag as the day is going on. We all pretty much know our partners, people we live with, and if you see that starting to rise, especially, like I said, the alcohol, and again, alcohol, as we know, and changes personality, changes people's personalities.
Yes.
People who have been jovial can suddenly become very, very short-tempered and very, very violent.
Yes.
So look for those stressors. And this goes along with domestic abuse scenarios and protecting oneself in general. And that's create a plan. Yes. Have a plan for that day. And if you have a plan in place, and there are various factors of that, having a plan in place we can talk about, but go over it, shore it up, make sure that, because it is the holidays, maybe you have a plan to get to a neighbor's house or a friend's house. Make sure they're going to be there during the holiday.
Yeah.
Don't just assume. So, those are, just some of the things off the top of my head. But you are right, things do increase. And I can remember in police work, it was kind of, because the day would start out relatively quiet because it's the beginning.
Yeah.
But as the day progressed and got into the later hours, especially if you came on like a 4 to 12 shift, that's when you could plan on, or not plan on, but the calls would increase, most definitely.
Wow. As you were talking, I could, when you said how the day starts off quiet and eerie, I could just see this, I don't know, a crazy commercial or a scene from a music, everything dead quiet, and then stuff just starting to happen. But unfortunately, it goes that way. And as you were talking, I a couple of things came to my mind, and one is that holidays affect the young people also. Okay. So as you're thinking about, yourself, let's think about our children as well. The babies, toddlers, teenagers. I know. So Bob, you were at an age you were able to, leave the house and go do whatever it was that helped you get through the moment. So I would say also, let's not forget our children. Because it affects them as well. And then, as you were saying, to try to identify the stressors, early in the day, if you can do that, great. And I think a really good thing is separate or distance yourself if you can, and this doesn't have to just be just on the day of the holiday. It doesn't have to be Thanksgiving Day. It doesn't have to be Christmas Day. Like, the holiday season is what, 2 or 3 months long, basically fall into winter. So anytime, in this time frame, if you can distance or separate yourself, get some time to yourself, do whatever it is that you can or need to do for yourself, do that. And whatever your plan is, your plan is your plan. You may do something differently than the person next to you, and that is absolutely fine. Do what works for you, and if you need to try something different, then try something different. But another thing that came to me, and Jen, I would ask you for, your chime in on this one. The holidays itself can just be a trigger, just because it's the holiday. This time of year is not a great time for everyone. Everyone is not sitting around the Christmas tree, with hot cocoa and telling family stories and having warm, fuzzy moments. So just the thought of the holiday itself can be a trigger. And so I would say, if there's anything that is happening during this time that you may know is a trigger, take care of yourself. Do as much as you can to protect yourself physically, to protect yourself mentally, and emotionally. And I can say for me personally, I do not know why, but last Thanksgiving and last Christmas were the best Thanksgiving and Christmas that I had since being away from my ex-husband. But I had a beautiful days, both days. I planned what I was going to do for each day. I followed my plan exactly. I was happy. I was okay. Everything was well. Thanksgiving for us in the United States is next week, and Christmas is on my mind as well. And Jen, I don't know why, but I'm feeling tense about Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. I already have a plan. I am going to spend some time with one of my sisters. I've already talked to her, but I don't know why I'm kind of feeling anxious already. So I wanted to touch on that. So I wanted to say personally to anyone, if you are feeling some kind of way and you don't know why, you can't explain it or whatever, it's okay. Because I don't have an explanation. I just know that I am feeling a bit anxious. I can't explain it. And especially since last year was so great for me. It was just wonderful. And as a matter of fact, throughout the year, I would reflect back on the holidays because I just felt so great. But I can't explain why, I'm feeling this way right now. But I just want to say, it's okay. It is what it is. I will do as much as I can do for myself. I will do everything that I know to do. And I just want to be encouraging to our listeners, on that same level. So, Jen, I want to, just get your thought and your feedback on that for the listeners as well.
Sure. It's an extremely difficult time of year because it's so emotional. There are so many emotions going around. And like you said, not everybody has the benefit or the privilege of being of having people to be with during the holidays, whether that's a domestic violence situation or something completely different. So there's a lot of understanding, and I think we've gotten somewhat better with this understanding over the years that Christmas isn't, or the holidays aren't, a happy time for everybody. And unfortunately, there's no easy answer to that, because you feel this way while it seems like everybody else, literally everybody else, is having the best time of their lives. Yes. And I just want to put it out there that that's not true. A lot of people are feel the same way that you do, but also a lot of people kind of are faking it, for lack of a better term, you know, because this is the way we're supposed to feel. We're supposed to feel happy during the holidays. We're supposed to be excited. And there is a lot of emotional energy spent on what we're supposed to be doing, rather than listening to ourselves and listening to what's going on in our minds and our bodies, and kind of taking our cue that way. So I would just say that it's okay to not be okay. That is always a perfectly great place to be in the moment. I would encourage you to seek help or to seek counsel if you are able to. But really, it's okay to not be okay. And I think that needs to be said loud and with no addendums or excuses after it. So, I will say that for my experience, I grew up having a great holiday season with my family, and I really enjoyed it. And Christmas was and still is my favorite time of year. But when I was married, and then for several years after that, it was really difficult. I kind of hated it. And I hated it, so it was like I was having these feelings, but I was also having almost like this guilt on top of it, that I wasn't enjoying what I was supposed to be enjoying. And so just because that's my personal experience, I want to put it out there that it can get better. You can heal, and not always, but sometimes there is an opening to a better time and a better energy. So, but yeah, ultimately it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
Can I throw something on what we just said, where we were? And you're absolutely right. It is absolutely 100% okay to not be okay. And people struggle with that. And I think they struggle with it because, think about it, starting at Halloween, out comes the Christmas mode.
Yes.
Out comes the advertisements, the happy holidays at Target, the happy holidays at this store, the happy holidays here, and there's in our heads we start spinning around this societal expectation of I am supposed to be happy.
Yeah.
I am supposed to be happy. This is and I mean, I know, I'm not saying I have miserable Christmases, but when you are not happy and you feel like you should be happy, and you feel like you're going down this well, and how do I get out of it? And I think what people need to understand, hear, and know, not everyone is happy. You're not the only one that feels that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
As you said, a lot of people fake it, and that gets me back to what I said initially, and that's including from preteens, teens, through adulthood and old age, that, I should be getting happy. Well, I can get happy by anesthetizing my wound. I'll have that six-pack of Bud Stupid, and I'll be happy. Well, not necessarily. So it's kind of, we get in this got to be happy like a hamster on a treadmill mentality at the holidays.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary.
Right. So, Bob, I want to add to that, and then I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
But just listening to you and Jen, what I hear and what I absolutely believe is just be honest. Be honest with yourself. If you're not feeling okay, it's all right. If things are happening around you, and if individuals are trying to push you and encourage you to participate in some things that you don't want to, if they're trying to push their happiness on you, it's okay to say, I don't feel like it right now. My mind is somewhere else. I want to do something else. It's okay. And as both Bob and Jen have already said, it truly is okay not to be okay. Now, we're not talking about falling into a state of depression and staying there.
No.
Because that's extreme. That's the extreme end. We don't want anyone to just feel depressed and you stay there. But we do want to emphasize and just let everyone know, and especially from our own personal experiences, we know and we understand it is okay to feel sad. It is okay, to have a bad moment. It is okay to not want to watch The Christmas Story. It is okay to not want to see Ebenezer Scrooge. If you cannot handle Mickey Mouse and his pals, with their Christmas adventure, it's okay. It really is. For the longest time, I could not deal with the Christmas romantic stories. The strangers meet, fall in love in front of the Christmas tree. I just I just can't do that. I can't. That's not where I am right now.
That
But
real life
it's
saga.
okay. Right. Now, I'm not going to take the television and smash it on the floor. I'm not going to do that. But I just don't want, there are some things that I don't want to do, and it is okay, as we've already said several times, it is okay not to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I add something real quick? I keep thinking about how much energy we expend on our emotions. And like I said, this is an extremely emotional time of year. And so I think if you're not somebody who has been in therapy and has not been had it drilled into you to pay attention to your emotions, maybe you don't realize how much your emotional energy is affecting your physicality. So, don't discount what you're feeling as why you are, not physically feeling your best too, and especially if you are in an actively abusive relationship, you are not only feeling all of your feelings about the holidays in general, but you're also playing this role of buffer between your abuser and everybody else you have to come in contact with that holiday season.
Yes.
So I just want to throw it out there. Your emotional energy is energy, and it's very taxing and exhausting. So be kind to yourself and take care of yourself.
Yes.
You're absolutely correct. I mean, I'm just going to back up what you said. Keeping that straight face, and many times, as you say, people who are in the existing abusive relationship keep that facade up so that it doesn't get spotlighted, and that is probably more taxing.
Absolutely.
Than taking, and it drains you. It's draining on people.
Absolutely.
We've all seen it.
So, Bob, I want to ask you, and not just on the college level, but since I now know that there should be a Title IX coordinator in every school on every level, is there a plan in place, or is there already something prepared for students who may have a hard time during the holidays? Does that fall under Title IX, to be prepared for students who may come in and have some issues that they're dealing with, that they need help with?
It doesn't fall directly under Title IX per se, as in part of a school policy normally. I know at Gwinnett we handle things on a case-per-case basis. Let us, and I'm going to start with the basic. We have some students who do not go home, and this happens at just about every university. Don't inquire as to why they're not. I mean, they may not have transportation. Some students don't want to go home because of the environment, but we provide, on-campus services to make sure they have food, et cetera, and their housing. Like I said, at Gwinnett, we handle it case by case. Just about every university I've been at has, we prepare for that, but it's not part of the Title IX policy. It's part of the student services genre. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And that's
okay. So, how closely does Title IX work with the counselors that may be in the schools? Do they have a close relationship?
Yes, ma'am, very. We have to. As a matter of fact, I have walked students into the counseling center and said, have a seat here. Let's get you talking to somebody. I mean, you can't force a person to go to counseling, obviously.
Right. Yes.
Normally, the first thing I do when I'm having an interview with someone is I recommend and I always provide the listing for counseling services to everybody involved in the situation that I feel may need their services. Once they go to counseling, though, I mean, other than getting them there, unless the person releases the counselor to talk to me, I don't get that information, obviously, because I'm not part of the counseling process.
Right. Okay. Luv Bay, we want to welcome you again to Surfing in Silence with Minister Tia on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, with a replay on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Also on Thursdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Luv Bay, we want you to remember that we are rising out of the ashes together. I want to share the resources again from Pakistan, and then Jen, I'll go right to you for a question or a comment. But listeners, I do want to mention again, if you have resources that you would like us to share, please let us know. You can email us. You can call into Luv Bay. You can email Luv Bay directly. But if you have information that you would like for us to share, we absolutely will. If you are looking for information and you would like us to try to find some resources for you, let us know, and we will do everything that we can to get you the information that you need. We want to emphasize again, no matter where you live, look for the national resource, a national website, a national phone number. And then once you make contact with that national organization, they should be able to connect you to an organization that is local to you, closer to where you live. So again, the information that we have for Pakistan, War Against Rape, their website is war.org.pk. And then we have Bedari, Bedari. Their website is bedari.org.pk. We have United Nations Development Program. Their website is www.undp.org. And then we have Acid Survivors Foundation. Their website is acidsurvivors.org. And with that, Jen, if you have a question or a comment.
Sure. I would actually like to talk about one of our favorite things, Tia.
Yes.
You kind of briefly mentioned it, but boundaries.
Yes.
So I think that it's really important to acknowledge the role of boundaries surrounding the holidays. And no matter who you are, like, you don't have to be a survivor or, in any special situation, but boundaries are really important for everyday life, as we love to talk about them. But it can be, again, a very overwhelming season of life, season of the year. And so drawing your boundaries and sticking to them, I just kind of want to throw it out there as it's okay to say no to things. It's okay to not participate in everything.
Yes.
Like Tia said, getting into a very deep depression, that's not where you want to be. But also, self-care is very important, especially during the holidays, especially when you're expending this emotional energy. So don't be afraid to draw your boundaries. There's nothing wrong with that. Your family might be disappointed, your friends might be disappointed, but they will live. They will survive. And everything will be okay. You need to make sure you're okay. So I just think it's really important to acknowledge the role of boundaries within the holidays and how it's okay and important for you to be listening to yourself, your mind, your body, where you are at in that moment, and say, you know what, I'm going to stay back from this because I don't feel like I'm in a great place to experience this right now. That's absolutely okay. So please just be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, especially during the holidays. And I know, especially for parents, that's a very difficult task. You want your kids to have the best of everything, but you still don't have to do everything. You can do things with intention. So yeah, that would be my comment, but I would love to hear your guys' view on that as well.
May I piggyback very quickly on what you just said? And as you said, it's okay to say no, and your family and friends may be disappointed with you. I'm going to roll that a little bit the other way. A true friend will understand.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They'll understand. I mean, I've told this to people many times. Sometimes a good friend is the person who just sits there quietly with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't need to talk. They just sit quietly with you. A true friend and a strong family member will understand that. Doesn't mean they don't pay attention to you, but they take. It's not a problem for them to take that step back. And I can keep a corner of my eye on somebody while taking that step back. And so, hopefully, we get there.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to just throw out there, when we're talking about boundaries, it doesn't have to be something that you would describe as hugely significant. Yeah. No matter how small it is, if it's important to you, then it's a healthy boundary to set. Mm-hmm. I remember last year, my daughter is 9, and she wanted to make a gingerbread house for Santa Claus. So I am not a baker. There is no way that I could put together a gingerbread house from scratch. So I went to Target and I got a gingerbread house. All the pieces were in the box. The cookies were, cut out, and everything was cool. All I had to do was put it together and decorate it. And so that's what I did. We worked on our gingerbread house, and we had the most difficult time. That cookie would not stay together. The frosting didn't harden up. The pieces were just sliding. And I mean, it was fun, for us to do. And so eventually we had the house standing where we thought Santa Claus would be happy. So, that was, we left it at that. This year, I have a prefab gingerbread house. It's already together. All I have to do is decorate it so we can drop the glitter on it and the icing. And you know what? I say that to say, for me, my boundary was not getting caught up in baking a gingerbread house from scratch that I knew I did not have the expertise to do. I was not trying to do it as a hobby. Like, that is not on my bucket list. But, my daughter wanted a gingerbread house, and I got one. I got it in a way that worked for me, what I could do. Now I know that there are some mothers who will whip out all the ingredients and turn the oven on and just go. That's not me. That's not me. And so I say that was a simple thing. But I can honestly say, all jokes aside, that gingerbread house was a stressor for me because it was something that she wanted, and I had to figure out how to make it happen. But to be able to walk into Target and grab a box, I was good. So again, it doesn't have to be a huge, great thing. Some of us will be making decisions. Am I going to buy, airline tickets and fly 2, 3, 4 states over to visit family? Okay. And then somebody else that may be, am I going to buy this gingerbread house that is pre-built? Or am I going to go get some flour and water and mix this thing up? But, it's okay. It really is. Wherever you are, it's okay. And we touched a bit on friends and family, and I want to share some of a different article, we shared some time ago on a program, just encouragement for friends and family on, how to be thoughtful and sensitive and not overbearing, because we can see our family member or a friend in a situation that, we believe that they shouldn't be in, and we want to help and we want to get them out of it. And sometimes we can make a situation worse, when we're actually trying to help. So this article is by Michelle Myers. This was from May this summer, 2022. It's entitled "Where to Find Help If You're Experiencing Domestic Violence in the Philly Region." And it starts, you or someone you love can be experiencing different types of violence within your own home without recognizing it. Home isn't always a safe space for many Philadelphians. In fact, the number of domestic abuse related deaths in the city more than doubled from 2020 to 2021. Domestic abuse and dating violence can take many forms, including physical, sexual, emotional, which is verbal, psychological, which is mental, financial, and cultural abuse. And the perpetrator can be a partner, parent, family member, guardian, or friend. Domestic abuse can happen to people of all genders and sexual identities. There's no one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter type of abusive relationship, says Katie Young-Wilds, a spokesperson from Women Against Abuse, which helps people of all genders who are dealing with violence. Broadly, domestic abuse involves someone who is trying to maintain control of the relationship. Signs of domestic abuse can include isolation from your loved ones, pressure to escalate the relationship, name-calling, physical or sexual abuse, and financial control. If you are in an LGBTQ relationship, you might experience additional abusive dynamics, including being outed. How to help someone experiencing domestic abuse. There are lots of ways to start a conversation with someone you think is being abused, says Young Wilds, including, I'm so sorry you're going through this. You don't deserve it. It's not your fault. How can I help? The most important thing to remember is not to be judgmental, because chances are they are already feeling very judged. Instead, offer them a safe and supportive environment where they can express themselves freely without fear of being blamed. Don't offer unsolicited advice. Be patient, lend an ear, and try to put the power back into their hands. Finally, Young Wilds recommends giving yourself a lot of grace, because seeing someone you love being in a domestic abuse situation can really be hard. And so with that, to family and friends, we want to emphasize, I personally know what it's like to be on both sides, to be a victim and survivor, and to be a friend seeing someone being hurt and wanting them to be okay and be out of their situation. But sometimes silence is golden, and your presence means everything. And some time ago, Jen pointed this out, and she said it beautifully. A person who thinks that they are being helpful, standing in and telling someone what to do, giving them direction that they believe that this individual should follow, what you're doing is taking away that person's voice. You're taking away their control as well. And what you want to do is empower the victim or survivor. You want to support them. It's one thing to put information in front of a person, and then you allow them to decide what they're going to do, if they're going to do anything. It's completely different when you start giving direction and you're pretty much trying to force a person to do what you think they should do. That is not helping the situation at all. So part of getting through the holidays for some victims and survivors will be the support of family and friends. And sometimes it's not for you to physically do anything or even say anything. Sometimes it may just be your presence, just to be there. And not ask questions, and not to give, advice that's not asked for, because I can tell you firsthand that it's very irritating. It's like, I already know my situation. I don't need you to keep giving this to me. I don't need you to keep throwing it at me, and we don't know what individuals are dealing with. But again, from personal experience, I can tell you, it is very irritating when I have not asked you to say to me what you're saying, or if I come to you for something completely and totally different, and you take the opportunity to go to a place where, I didn't want to go. I've actually had some triggers just from people or individuals thinking they were helpful. My mind was on something completely different. I was working on a task completely different, then you just took the opportunity to, take my mind back to somewhere else. and you really weren't helpful. You didn't. So we don't want to take the opportunity just to say what we want to say, and just to get our thought and our feelings out there. Jen, you were going to say something?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Okay. So,
There,
Bob, yes.
there are two things that you just said that are across the board with trauma victims, and we'll focus here, but across the board with trauma victims. Number one, it is belief.
Yes.
Absolutely belief. I mean, and if I may, again, we've had our own experiences. One thing, somebody who has been traumatized or victim in that particular situation, one of the first questions they ask internally, what did I do?
Yes.
What did I do wrong? I mean, we've talked about this before. I can still remember the smell of the sink my face was pushed in when I got that first beating. And the whole time you're there, what did I do? What did I do to deserve that? What did I do? So coming along and then questioning them is another straw on that camel's back, so to speak. And again, taking them where they don't want to go when they don't want to go there again is that's another straw. So what you've done, if you pursue that road, is you've already taken a situation where the person's questioning themselves and you're adding more questions to it.
Yes.
You're making that burden twice as heavy. So take the step back. I mean, I know it can be difficult because it's somebody you care about. You want to step in and help, but there's a difference between being there to support and guide and being overbearing or being pushy.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say there's also so much shame already associated with it. Like, if you kind of taking away somebody's agency and telling them this is what you need to do, it's just heaping on that shame that they're already feeling every single day of their lives of, I'm not good enough. I'm not able to get myself out of this. I deserve this. So, and it's not something, if you haven't been in that situation, if you haven't experienced trauma, it may not be a mindset that you're familiar with, but it is definitely something that you need to try to understand.
Yes. And I know in general, we think of the holiday season, it's something special. It's a special time of the year, but and I don't want to take away or try to take away the significance of any holiday. I don't. I know because I'm a Christian. I celebrate Christmas. For me, Christmas is the day that Jesus Christ was born. Well, the day that we celebrate. We don't know when he was born, but that's the day that we celebrate. And so, I know the significance of that. But I also want to say that December 25th is a day. It's a day. November, what is it? I don't know, the 26th, 25th, 26th, whatever day Thanksgiving falls on. It's a day. January 1st is a day. So I know that we as people, we've attached some different meanings to these days, but it's okay to just get up, on that Thursday, whatever date that Thanksgiving falls on, and just recognize, what, this is Thursday. And I'm going to go do whatever I need to do on Thursday. It's okay. So I understand, the pressure. I mean, you can't walk into any store, as Bob said, starting Halloween, October 31st. I mean, the Christmas decorations are just out there. So, I mean, it's okay to just have your own day, to have your own space, and to allow it to look like whatever you need it to look like for yourself. I encourage you, if you need to reach out to a hotline, any counselor, family member, or friend, if this is a time you feel safe and you need to and you want to open up, do that. Take the moment to reach out for the help that you need and get it. I think in general, I'm just trying to say, it's okay for you to be you, and let your day be your day, and not let the world, not let the culture, not let friends and family push onto you their thoughts, and their opinions. Like I said, if you don't feel like Mickey Mouse and Donald, then, they're, decorating the tree, it is absolutely okay.
If I may, I'm going to throw, not a shout out, but a word out for people who do what I used to do, our public service people who are out there. When you say it's just a day, the EMTs, police officers, fire personnel, people in the medical profession, it's another day. They're working.
Yes. Yes.
They're working, and it's personal experience. Sometimes, especially if you're on a 12 to 8, you come home, it is Christmas Day, you've got children, you want to be jolly and merry, and you are just tired. You really want to take that step back. And again, taking it to where we are with speaking with domestic issues, there are people in those walks of life that are caught up in domestic issues.
Yes.
And that's another straw on that camel's back. It compounds it. So it's for many people, it is just another day. And we have to let that be.
Yes.
We have to let that be.
So I want to, again, listeners, encourage you, take care of yourself. Self-care is extremely important, inside and out. If you know what your triggers are, do what you need to do to guard yourself against your triggers. Now, some things you don't know until you know, but once you do, if something happens, if it bothers you, then take care of yourself. Do what you need to do. But also, if you can, take yourself out. Take yourself out to lunch. I have to say, listeners, Jen's hair is beautiful. So if you can see, I can't wait till we get to TV, so we can see. But and that just made me think, your hair is beautiful. It's a different cut. Take care of yourself. Try a different hairstyle or your same style. Do your nails, go out, get a massage, spend some time with friends, spend some time alone. Do something for you. Focus on yourself. You don't have to put all your time and energy into a tree and decorations and a turkey. You are what is most important. Whatever holiday is coming around, you are important. Your thoughts, your feelings, if you don't want to be bothered with it, that's important. However you feel is important. And we really want to remind you of that. If you don't have people around you and you would like to have people around you, it's okay. If you need to hear the words that you are important, we are telling you, you are important, you are loved, you are thought about, you are special. And whatever you're thinking and feeling is okay. You don't want to get stuck there. You don't want to stay there. But it is okay to feel it and process it and move forward. That's what we do as adults. That's what we do as young people learning to be adults, to go through life. It's absolutely okay.
It's okay to give yourself a Christmas gift.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. That's
It's okay.
a good one, Bob.
Bob said.
Yes. Bob said treat yourself.
Yes.
Kindly.
It is okay to give yourself a Christmas gift. Put yourself on your own list.
Yeah, it is. There are times I love roses. So before COVID hit, I bought myself fresh roses every week. I would get 3 or 4 dozens because I would put them in different parts of the house. I love roses, all different colors. I bought myself flowers on a regular basis. I would send myself gifts. It's just, I'm special, so I do it. You don't have to wait for somebody else to give you something or do something for you. There are specific pieces of jewelry that I wanted. I had them made. I got them. There were some rings that I wanted. I did that for myself. Whatever it is for you, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And similarly, if, you have permission to opt out of the holidays, but you also have permission to opt in. If leaving your Christmas tree up until February makes you happy and gives you joy,
Yes.
do it. Who cares? It's yours.
Absolutely.
I've got to jump in with this because my wife and I have been together for 43 years, and we come from opposite ends of the family spectrum. Hers was a normal nuclear, the normal nuclear family. Everybody was happy. Mine, we're all, it's Christmas. Oh, really? Is Uncle Joe getting out of jail this week? Or, is it really, what's going on here? However, my mother-in-law, God love her, very traditional. One year, our Christmas tree stayed up a little longer than normal. And I love my in-laws. They were great help babysitting our children. And my mother-in-law went, "Oh, I see your Christmas tree is still up." And me, just being the Irish that I am, turned around and said, "Yeah, we're going to call it an Easter tree." My wife almost had a stroke because I said it's her mother. She's like, "Oh my God." That was my cue to take a step back and sit down and be quiet. But you're right. I see people in the neighborhood have trees up, and I'm like, hey, if it makes you happy, enjoy that tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Enjoy that tree.
Yeah. And whatever kind of tree you like, I don't have
Easter tree is for me.
Right? I'm gonna have to try the Easter tree.
All right, I'm not doing the Easter tree. So for me, my tradition is to put my Christmas tree up on Thanksgiving. And then I take it down right after Christmas, probably the day after Christmas, but I might let it sit a little bit, but I take it down before January 1st. Now, I do artificial trees. I don't like real trees because I always think about the lights on a tree, and I'm like, the tree drying out, catching fire. So I don't do real trees. That and the pine needles on the floor that you will be sweeping up at Easter.
Yes.
But I do the artificial trees. A couple Christmases, I did a rose gold Christmas tree. It's each is to his own. Whatever makes you
Absolutely.
happy. Last year, and I think I'll do it this year, my decorations were blue, silver, and white. I know the traditional colors are red and green. Okay, but I went blue. And I think I'm going to go blue this year, too. So, whatever brings a smile to your face, whatever it is, do that. Because you matter. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings matter. Whatever is going to get you through, it matters. And you give yourself permission to do that. So we are just under the hour. Time always flies by. So Jen and Bob, I want to give you, a couple minutes to give your final words to the listeners on this night as we're getting through the holiday season. Jen, I'll ask you first to share your final thoughts.
Sure. I think I don't have much more to say from what we've already said, but life is short, life is fragile. Find your joy wherever you can, and just make no apologies for that. You deserve to have and experience joy and love and peace in your life. So do what brings you joy.
Yes. Bob, what would you leave our listeners with tonight?
Again, everything Jen and you have said is absolutely spot on true. I can't really add too much to that other than this is, this whole Thanksgiving, Christmas, this whole thing, we call it the giving season. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to give yourself what you need.
Yes.
Give yourself that gift. And that's what I'll leave it with.
Awesome.
And an Easter Christmas tree. I'm going to start a new tradition.
Don't knock until you try it.
Oh my goodness. And it's okay to make that gift beyond mental, spiritual, and emotional. Give yourself a physical gift. Luv Bay, if you want to catch up on previous episodes from the program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. Thank you for joining Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Luv Bay, please remember, we are rising out of the ashes together. Good evening.